Get ready, Padres fans. It's time for the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network.
Tatis hit third, 2 outs. Fernando takes off. He's going to steal home without a play.
Coming up, we'll have a recap of the previous Padres game, a preview of today's starting pitching matchup, and our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Shildt. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today the Padres take on the Milwaukee Brewers in the third game of a 4-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today for the Brewers, right-hander Carlos Rodriguez, and for the Padres, right-hander Randy Vasquez. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 4:15 as the Padres go for a third consecutive win against the Brew Crew. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, you'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. I go one-on-one with tonight's left fielder Tyler Wade, and a little bit later we hear from Padres radio voice Jesse Agler. But first, let's set the table. Brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa, Vista, and Oceanside. Padres entered today with a record of 40-40. They're back to 500. Padres have bounced back after a 5-game losing skid with 3 consecutive wins, one against the Phillies and 2 against the Brewers. Padres looking to win 4 straight games for the second time this season. Meanwhile, the Brewers are 44-32. They still sit in first place in the National League Central. They had won 4 consecutive series. Entering this one, Brewers can't win this series. Padres can win this series with a win either tomorrow. It was a back-and-forth battle last night here in downtown San Diego. Here's how it went down.
How did the Padres fare in their last game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind. Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
The Padres trailed 4-1 heading to the bottom half of the 5th inning. There was a runner on for Luis Arraez.
0-1 hit in the air deep down the right field line towards the Petco porch. Gonna go! Luis Arraez, second home run as a Padre, is a 2-run shot against Colin Ray here in the 5th inning, and this is now a 1-run game.
Padres still trailed 4-3, going bottom 6. Jake Cronenworth dug in.
And the 2-2 pitch. Cronenworth hits it in the air to deep right field. Churio is back at the wall, looking up, gonna go! Jake Cronenworth, who walked it off last night, has just tied it with 1 out in the bottom of the 6th inning. Third hit of the night for Cronenworth, his 12th home run of the season, and it is 4-4.
Brewers would tie it ultimately at 5-5 in the top of the 7th inning. But before that, let's get to how the Padres had their 5-4 lead. Manny Machado followed with a double after Cronenworth's home run. Later in the inning, it was pinch hitter Donovan Solano.
Koenig delivers, and Solano swings, muscles one into center. Frelick charging, has to play it on a hop. Manny rounding third, he'll come in to score. Pinch hit RBI single Donovan Solano, and the Padres are back in front. It's 5-4.
Like I said, the Brewers would then tied at 5 in the top of the 7th inning, but Jake Cronenworth delivered again in the bottom half.
3-2, and a ground ball through the left side, base hit. Zolkar rounding third, he's going to score easily. Adames just couldn't quite get there, and another hit for Cronenworth, his 4th of the night, and the Padres back in front. It's 6-5.
The Padres put together a 3-run bottom of the 7th inning. It was an 8-5 game. Jake Cronenworth hit a double in the 8th inning. That was his 5th hit of the night. Manny Machado then drove Cronenworth in with an RBI single to make it 9-5. That was Manny's 4th hit of the night. 5 for Jake, 4 for Manny, 9 out of the 15 hits for the Padres last night. The final score, Padres 9 and the Brewers 5. And now the Padres will try to win this series against Milwaukee, and they are going for a 4th consecutive win overall. We'll see if they can also improve to over 500. Let's go inside the Padres radio booth.
Let's go inside the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup from Jesse Agler in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Jesse, let's begin with the news of the day. Really, a few different items to get to. Luis Campusano, according to Mike Shildt earlier today, going on the IL. We'll hear more from Mike on that coming up a little bit later. Fernando Tatis Jr., Jerks and Profar, not in the lineup. And Jesse, this team continues to be, unfortunately, really banged up. I suppose the good news is that they've won 3 in a row, and they've got the guys in Donovan Solano and David Peralta, some veteran bats who have done a really nice job, and they're going to have to continue doing a really nice job as this team continues to be pretty banged up.
Yeah, I think with the depth they have, they're about as well positioned to handle all this stuff as they can be, with the caveat of you never want to have it go on for too long. You know, it's one thing to fill in a couple of days here and there to get a spot start, you know, that kind of thing. But if you're talking weeks, then yeah, I mean, the calculus changes pretty dramatically. So, you know, the good news is with all the things the Padres have had this year and all the guys who have been dinged up, really with the exception on the position player side of Xander Bogaerts, you know, they've been able to come back pretty quickly and kind of manage the situation. So hopefully for Campusano, it is just kind of a minimal IL stay. That's sort of what Mike Shildt indicated to us. But, I mean, there's so many of these little ones that are easy to forget about. You know, Arise with the shoulder, you know, didn't really miss much actual time. Cronenworth, I think it was a calf when we were in Milwaukee back in April, didn't really end up missing much time. Just a couple of games there. Jackson Merrill had whatever it was, I forget already, you know, for just a couple of days and was able to get back in there. So, look, there is no question that, you know, this team has been beset by injuries, but in a way has gone, you know, I think gotten a little bit lucky in terms of the severity of it. But, look, man, there's no doubt, you know, Tatis in particular is really kind of fighting through it right now. Manny, I am sure, is still fighting through the hip and the elbow. And then now, obviously, you have to add Profar and Campusano to the list as well. So, look, there comes a tipping point anytime with injuries where it becomes very, very difficult. But as you said, the Padres have very real major league depth right now. And at this point, they've been able to absorb all of this stuff really, really well.
And certainly when you look at the performances of Manny and Jake Cronenworth last night, they do things like that. That'll go a long way as well. 9 hits combined between the two last night. Let's focus on Jake Cronenworth for a second, Jesse, and I'll ask you a similar question that I asked Mike Shildt earlier today. And I suppose I asked this in the context of Jake's 2023 entering spring training, entering this season, looking for a bounce-back year. You look at the numbers right now, halfway through the year. Jesse, he's on pace to have a really, really big-time bounce-back year, and obviously the last couple of days he's just been exceptional.
Yeah, now more home runs and RBIs than he had last year in 127 games. I mean, that's the place to start for me, right? Last year, 10 homers. He's got a dozen now. Last year, 48 RBIs, and now up to 49 on this season. It's great because this is kind of the Jake we always thought we were going to see. And last year was a tough one, and it was frustrating, and it obviously did not go the way that he or the Padres wanted it. It ended frustratingly with injury at the end of the season, and it seemed like, you know, he was just starting to maybe get 2023 turned around when he got hurt. You know, it was the end of August. He got hit by a pitch. I think it was the right wrist, and it was kind of like, oh, man, you know, we're not going to get to see how he's able to finish it. But he has carried that momentum, if you will, I guess, over to this season, and he's providing the exact kind of production I think they expected, and I am sure that he expected when he signed that extension.
Yeah, certainly. It's been a lot of fun to watch what he's done these last couple of days. We'll see what's in store for Jake tonight as the Padres look for a 4th consecutive win. Right-hander Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres. Right-hander Carlos Rodriguez making his 3rd Major League start for the Brew Crew. Jesse, as always, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you in Scan coming up at 4:05 p.m., 4:15 first pitch for Game 3 of this 4-game series. Thanks so much.
You got it, Sam.
All right, that is Jesse Agler joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for, again, first pitch coming up at 4:15 p.m. A little national TV game today, so a bit of a different start time, but the good news is that we are always with you On the radio side of things, you have me and then Jesse and Bob Scanlon coming up at 4:05. When we come back, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. I alluded to it with Jesse there, but we have a lot of injury news to get to, and we'll catch you up on everything when we come back. Fernando not in the lineup. Jurickson not in the lineup. We have news on Luis Campusano as well. Bottom line right now is the Padres are really banged up. They have won 3 in a row, but they're going to have to continue to try to win ball games as they deal with a number of different injuries. So we'll have the latest on Profar, Tatis, Campusano when we come back. Plus, a little bit later, I talked to Tyler Wade one-on-one. Plus, we have our keys to the game, and we also take a much deeper dive into this pitching matchup between Randy Vasquez and Carlos Rodriguez. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues when we come back on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building and at Petco Park as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 4:15 here in downtown San Diego. Third game of this 4-game series between the Padres and the Brewers. Padres winning on Thursday, winning on Friday. The walk-off home run on Thursday. A back-and-forth battle last night. Padres found a way to win it. They'll try to win 4 in a row here today with right-hander Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres, right-hander Carlos Rodriguez on the mound for the Brewers. As always, if you want to get involved on our pregame coverage, you can do that in a number of different ways. You can tweet at me at Sammy Lev, SAMMYLEV. Instagram DM's open as well. Sammy Lev there too. You can also go to the video streams on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook. You can comment there. Let me know if you want to tweet, DM, or comment. What is your key to tonight's game for the Padres? May just read your key to the game coming up a little bit later on during our pregame coverage. Well, we'll hear from Mike Shildt in just a moment. We have a lot of injury news to get to, but let's quickly recap what happened yesterday. We found out before the game that Luis Campusano was scratched from the lineup due to a bruised thumb. He sustained the injury while catching a pitch from Yuki Matsui. He was initially in yesterday's lineup, but was scratched a few hours before first pitch with soreness and bruising in his thumb, according to Mike Shildt. So that was injury item number one yesterday. Then during the game, Fernando Tatis Jr. was hit by a Colin Ray pitch in the third inning, hit him in the elbow area, and we found out later in the game, after Fernando ultimately came out of the game a couple of innings after, we found out Fernando came out with a left tricep contusion. And then later in the game, Jurickson Profar, after hitting a double that was actually a really important hit, started the rally in the seventh inning. Profar hit the double, then he came out of the game as he continues to deal with that patellar tendinitis in his left knee, something he's dealt with for a long time that has been a bit of an issue over the last few weeks for Jurickson Profar. So with all that in mind, Tatis coming out yesterday, Profar coming out yesterday, Campusano being scratched from the lineup. Let's hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Mike, let's start with the trio of injuries from yesterday. Fernando Tatis Jr., Jurickson Profar, Luis Campusano. What's the latest on those three?
All right, I'm going to work backwards because that's definitely an IL move with Campy. Good news is we do not think it's going to be anything that's going to linger past the 10 days. We were in that could go tomorrow, unsure what it'll look like, unsure how to recover. So as we all know in this game, it's, we can play with a regular being down a couple of days, but it's hard not to have a backup catcher. And also we feel like if he had to go, he could, but it would maybe, have some regression. So we made a decision for a 10-day IL, and Brett Sullivan will be here today to be on the club. Profar, I think many of you have probably spoken to him. I have not, but it's good to hear that he's ready and available today at some point. Not surprising, and I think he does expect to be in there tomorrow. But it's what we're dealing with. I mean, it's really, a day-to-day type thing, and even within a game as we saw yesterday type thing. So there's that, and then Toddy, I haven't seen yet, but I imagine he's still pretty sore from where he got hit yesterday, and he's obviously dealing with something with the quad, and we're evaluating all of it.
Is it possible, do you know yet if Fernando would be available off the bench today?
I don't know that yet. Yep.
Sort of touch on the luxury of having these quality bats like Solano and Peralta, been there, done that. Like, you have a couple of holes to plug and you can use.
Huge. Yeah, I mean, they've been huge for our club. I mean, Solano's, clearly a big hit last night. Big game here in the last homestand. Big hits on the road. This guy's just done a nice job across the board for us. Done a nice job when he's played third. Just a professional hitter, and he's done a nice job for the lineup. Peralta, same thing. Taking good at bats. Hadn't found as many holes, but has had some barrels that balls hadn't fallen. But you're talking about an experienced veteran guy that brings a lot of energy and a lot of desire to compete, and he's done a really good job. They've been great additions to the club.
Is there any imaging on Tatis last night?
On his elbow?
Yeah.
I don't believe that any imaging was necessary. I think we had a pretty good handle that where it was not going to require any imaging, but was going to require some time to get some of the inflammation out.
Jake Cronenworth had quite the 24 hours, a walk-off home run followed by a 5-for-5 night as we reach the midway point of the season. How would you sum up Jake's first half of the year?
I just see a guy that really is back to knowing who he is and is really clear about the approach he has, what he's trying to do offensively. He's just a really smart baseball player. He's got a good feel for the game, is seeing the game, and I don't think he's trying to do too much. I think he's just taking what the game gives him and letting his talent play.
Randy Vasquez on the mound tonight, coming off a bit of a tougher outing in Philadelphia. Your expectations for Randy tonight?
Just fastball command. If he commands a fastball and sets up his secondary pitches in the zone and controls counts, he'll be able to navigate and go deep in the game, which clearly we have needed and expect, and that'll be the key to him.
Padres manager Mike Shildt before today's game with the updates on Fernando Tatis Jr., Jurickson Profar, Luis Campusano, like you heard there. He is going on the IL. Brett Sullivan is here. You would imagine pretty good chance that Sullivan would play tomorrow. Kyle Higashioka catching tonight. Tomorrow a day game at 1 p.m., so we may see Sullivan in the lineup tomorrow. We'll see ultimately what the Padres elect to do, but certainly not great news on the injury front, just when you consider the fact that Fernando and Jurickson are not in the lineup here today. It continues to sound like it's not anything overly serious with Fernando, just based on what we heard there from Mike Shildt, and we know with Jurickson it's something he continues to deal with. Luis Campusano going on the IL, but hopefully Profar back in the lineup tomorrow, and we'll see what the deal is with Fernando as well. Let's tell you now who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to kick things up another notch? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not on the Padres Radio Network.
We take a look at the hot category. Let's begin with the guy that is scorching hot, Jake Cronenworth. A walk-off home run on Thursday, 5 for 5 last night. So Jake is now 6 for his last 6. He has 7 hits and 2 home runs in the first 2 games of this series. That was after going 2 for 24 in his 7 games prior to this series. Jackson Merrill, a couple of hits last night. He's now batting .340 in his last 13 games. His .1167 OPS is the 4th highest in the NL in that span. He's had a lot of home runs as of late. Christian Yelich, his last 20 games for the Brew Crew, been very good, batting .364 in that span with a .425 on base percentage, 5 extra base hits, and 12 RBIs. In the not category, William Contreras for the Brewers, just 3 for 17 on this road trip. For the Brew Crew, Joey Ortiz, just 2 for 16 on this road trip as well. And both those guys in the lineup tonight for Milwaukee. And that's a look at who's hot, who's not, as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 4:15. Let's take a quick look at the Padres lineup just so you know it, and I think it's worthwhile to do here today because the lineup is so different with the number of injuries and guys out today. So the lineup for the Padres looks like this. Luis Arraez at first base leading off, Donovan Solano, the DH, batting second, Jake Cronenworth at second base batting third, Manny Machado at third base batting cleanup, Jackson Merrill in center field batting fifth, David Peralta in right field batting sixth, at shortstop Ha-Sung Kim batting seventh, Tyler Wade playing left field today batting eighth, and finally Kyle Higashioka behind the plate batting ninth. And again, I go one-on-one with Tyler Wade, the left fielder, tonight in just a little bit. Plus, when we come back, we've already got to a lot of injury news, but I have one more note that I have not told you about. So stay tuned. I'm going to update you on another injury for the Padres when we come back, or I really should say injury situation for the Padres when we come back, because this is going to be about when a guy is returning. So some good news when we come back. Also take a look at the out-of-town scoreboard, our keys to the game, and again, you'll hear from tonight's left fielder, Tyler Wade. Much more to get to on our pregame coverage. This is the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Your water perfected. EcoWater SoCal. Your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 4:15 here in downtown San Diego. An absolutely gorgeous Saturday late afternoon and soon to be early evening. There is not a cloud in the sky that I can see here at Petco Park. Bright blue skies, plenty of people filing in. Should be a fun Saturday night as the Padres go for a fourth consecutive win. We've done a lot of talking about the injuries to Fernando Tatis Jr., Jurickson Profar, Luis Campusano already, but we have not talked about one Padre that is going to return this coming week. Let's get to it.
Who's in, who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at BadaFulkerson.com.
Padres right-hander Yu Darvish will return on Tuesday against the Nationals. We found that out from Mike Shildt earlier today. So it will be Yu Darvish coming off the IL on Tuesday to make the start against the Washington Nationals. Matt Waldron will pitch on Monday for the Padres. That was all according to Mike Shildt earlier today. So that's a quick look at our injury report. We'll fit that in our report today. And obviously, when you talk about who's hot, not who's hot, but who's out in this game, who's in, who's out, well, obviously today, Fernando out of the starting lineup. Unclear whether he would be available off the bench today. Jurickson Profar out of the starting lineup. He said he'd be available off the bench today, expects to play tomorrow. We'll see if Jurickson is used today. And like we said, and by the way, the Padres making this official just a handful of minutes ago, Luis Campusano officially put on the 10-day IL with what the team is calling a left thumb contusion. That is retroactive to yesterday. And the Padres also recalling catcher Brett Sullivan from AAA El Paso. So those are the updates on Campusano, Profar, Tatis, and Yu Darvish as well. Very good news. Yu Darvish will return this coming week on Tuesday. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, tell you what's going on in the majors on this Saturday.
Let's take a trip around the bigs and tell you about the scores you need to know in our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Meat, where great taste meets integrity.
A few finals already today at Wrigley Field. The Cubs beat the Mets 8-1 in Chicago. Cubs put up 5 runs against Tyler McGill in the first inning. Did not look back in that one. Other finals, Cardinals beat the Giants 9-4 in St. Louis. Alec Burleson, a couple of home runs in that game for St. Louis. White Sox beat the Tigers 5-1 in Detroit. Phillies beat the Diamondbacks 12-1 in Philadelphia. Rangers beat the Royals 6-0 in Arlington earlier today. Wyatt Langford had a grand slam in that one for Texas. Pirates beat the Rays 4-3 in Pittsburgh. Twins over the A's 10-2 in Oakland. Astros beat the Orioles 5-1 in Houston. Chas McCormick, a couple of home runs in that game for the Astros. Mariners beat the Marlins 9-0 in Miami. Guardians beat the Blue Jays 6-3 in Cleveland. Games going on right now, just one. Red Sox leading the Reds 4-3 in Cincinnati. 8th inning in Cincy. Everything else is coming up in a little bit. Braves and the Yankees in New York at 4:15. Marcus Stroman on the mound for the Yankees. Charlie Morton on the mound for Atlanta. Nationals and the Rockies in Colorado at 6:10. And finally, the Angels and the Dodgers in LA at 7:10. Tyler Glasnow on the mound for the Dodgers tonight. And that's a look at our full out-of-town scoreboard on this Saturday across the major leagues. Well, with all the injuries for the Padres and Jurickson Profar not being in the lineup here tonight, and also Fernando not being in the lineup here tonight, that means that David Peralta is playing right field, and Tyler Wade, sort of the Padres super utility man, is playing left field here tonight. It will be Tyler Wade's 20th career start in left field over his 7 seasons in the major leagues. And as we know, Tyler has played a little bit of everywhere. He has starts at second base, shortstop, third base, left field, right field, center field during the course of his major league career. So he is very, very well versed in moving around the diamond. Tyler always has really interesting answers. Good guy to talk to inside the Padres clubhouse. I caught up with Tyler Wade earlier today. Sam Levitt here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for today's game. And right now I'm joined by Tyler Wade, who we've talked about it many times, plays everywhere on the diamond. Last night, you go into right field when Fernando comes out. Jurickson getting the day off today, so you're in left field. So tell me, what's Tyler Wade's comfort level in a place, left field, right field, the corner outfield spots?
Yeah, it doesn't matter, honestly. I've been doing it for so long now. 2019, 2021, I played a bunch of games in the outfield. Last year, I played a bunch of games in the outfield. So yeah, the comfort level for me is just like playing shortstop, second or third. It's all the same to me. It's just about being out there and doing my thing.
We've talked a handful of times about how you prepare for games when you're on the bench, getting out there early, getting a look at all the different defensive positions. On a day where you know you're playing a spot like left, what does the pregame routine look like?
It's actually funny. Yesterday I did a bunch of pregame stuff on left, so it kind of just worked out great. But like early game today, I'm not doing anything on the field, especially because I did a bunch of work yesterday. But yeah, man, just I know we've played against these guys a lot. I feel comfortable in positioning and just trusting my baseball instincts out there.
Part of the work yesterday was putting the catcher's gear on,
man.
getting behind home plate.
Yeah.
You were the emergency catcher yesterday if the Padres needed it. What was that like yesterday, getting the gear on and doing some work back there?
Yeah, it was fun. My hips are a little tight today, but it was fun. It was fun. I have a lot of respect for those guys that gear up every single day. That is not as easy as it looks, especially when you got a guy swinging and you got a mask on and everything, but I enjoyed it. Espo, Higgy, they helped me out a lot over there. So I feel pretty comfortable back there too, so.
Have you ever played catcher, going back to high school, college? Not college, but high school, pro level?
I caught like maybe 2 innings and I don't know, how all-star pony ball. Like I was maybe 10 or 11 years old, but I don't know, like God blessed me with being super athletic. So I feel like if I need to do it, I can do it. And then yesterday was kind of I caught an inning of Dylan in between innings. So I kind of got to see an elite arm. So I feel good.
That's awesome. I did not realize that watching yesterday that you were out there in between innings. That must have been pretty cool, right?
Yeah, actually, after doing all the work and stuff like that, I'm like, all right, let me see what it actually looks like from an elite arm. And it's a little bit different from a catching standpoint than hitting against them. But yeah, I feel that if it needs to happen, I feel like I can do the job.
Tyler, last thing for you. Obviously, yesterday was a really nice win for this team. A back-and-forth game. You pull it out. The 3 consecutive walk-off home runs here at home the night before that. Overall, what do you feel about this team, the way you guys are playing right now?
Man, I think the one thing that sticks out to me is like the resilience of this group, man. We're never out of the game, and I feel like we stick together. I feel like this team's been together for 3 or 4 years. That has that vibe to it of everyone's got each other's back, everyone loves each other, everyone's pulling for each other, and that's a special thing to have. You don't have that in every single clubhouse. So I think if we just continue to play our brand of baseball, man, you're going to see a lot of wins stacking up together.
We've talked many times about Tyler's ability to play all over the place in the last 24 hours, right field, left field, even doing some work behind the plate. Tyler, thanks so much for the time.
Yeah, thank you, Sam.
That was tonight's left fielder, Tyler Wade, before this one against the Milwaukee Brewers. Wade batting 8th and in left field for the Padres here tonight. First pitch coming up at 4:15 here at Petco Park. Let's give you our keys to the game.
How will the Padres unlock a victory in today's game? These are the keys to the game. Presented by Honor Buick GMC Hummer in National City.
Key number 1, Randy Vasquez limiting the home runs and just being pretty good in general here tonight. Sounds like a pretty simple key. It is, but it's really important. Last 5 starts for Randy Vasquez, he's allowed 7 home runs in 27 innings, 39 hits total in those 27 innings. Overall this season, Vasquez's home runs allowed per 9 innings ratio is the 2nd highest in baseball. Vasquez had been pretty solid before that last start in New York, but some of the numbers aren't pretty lately, and really this year, batters are hitting .350 against Vasquez this season. That's the highest opponent batting average of any pitcher in baseball with at least 40 innings pitched this year. So the Padres need Vasquez to just be a little bit better, limit the home runs. We'll see if he can do that here tonight. That's key number 1. Key number 2, Padres hitting the homer. The Padres have hit 22 home runs in their last 9 home games. They had 2 last night, 1 from Luis Arraez and 1 from Jake Cronenworth. And look, there's been a direct correlation between the Padres hitting home runs here at home and them winning here at home. The Padres are 7-2 in their last 9 home games. So, hey, keep on doing it. The home run ball. Hit them at home. That's key number 2. And key number 3, Manny and Crony continuing to mash. Jake Cronenworth, 7 for 10 in this series so far. Manny Machado, 8 for 13 in his last 3 games after going just 3 for 23 in his previous 6 games. And if you go back even a little bit farther, and we talked about this on the postgame last night, Manny has multiple hits now in 3 straight games. I told you about that, but the point I was getting to was Manny is hitting over 300 in his last 30 games. Now, there has not been a lot of slug with that, not many home runs, but average-wise, he has hit the ball better. So they need, the Padres do, Manny to keep on doing that, Jake Cronenworth to continue swinging a great bat, because in the starting lineup tonight, no Fernando, no Jurickson. Padres need Machado and Cronenworth to be those guys here tonight. We'll see if they can do it. That's key number 3, and that's a look at our keys to the game. When we come back on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show, we'll talk about a Brewers reliever that we have not seen to this point in this series that you want to keep an eye on, because he's been very, very good so far this season. We'll talk about that, and we'll dive even deeper into our pitching matchup between young right-hander Carlos Rodriguez on the mound for the Brewers and right-hander Randy Vasquez on the mound tonight for the Padres. Much more coming up on our pregame coverage when we return to Petco Park on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as the Padres get ready to take on the Milwaukee Brewers. Third game of this four-game series. Padres trying to win this series. All they got to do to accomplish that is win either today or tomorrow. Of course, they could win both. That would be very nice for the Padres. Padres trying to win a fourth consecutive game. A little after the fact, who's hot, who's not. Just a couple of guys to point out here tonight. Luis Arraez obviously had the big moment last night. A 2-run home run got the Padres within one. They would ultimately go on to win it 9-5. Arraez is just 5 for 30 in his last 7 games, but you certainly hope the home run last night gets him going. Ha-Seong Kim batting .115 in his last 8 games. Committed a couple of errors last night, so we'll see what Kim does here tonight. Certainly the Padres could use Arraez and Kim to have good nights, especially, and in case you're just joining us, Fernando Tatis Jr., Jerks and Profar both out of the lineup here tonight. Luis Campusano also put on the 10-day IL before today's game. Brett Sullivan recalled from AAA El Paso. Let's tell you what to watch for in tonight's ball game.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for in today's game. There is a Brewer reliever that we have not seen yet in this series that you should have in the back of your mind. His name is Brian Hudson. He's a 6'8" left-hander, 27 years old. Hudson's numbers this season, a .090 ERA in 26 appearances, an opponent batting average of 134. Righties have hit 141 against him. Lefties have hit 119. And I bring him up because he's been excellent on the year. We have not seen him yet in this series, so you could almost guarantee that we're going to see him at some point, whether that is tonight or tomorrow. And for all we know, we could see him in a big spot, maybe against righties or lefties, because, again, he's been very good against both. So what to watch for here tonight? Brian Hudson out of the Brewer bullpen. Do we see him at some point? He's a big-time arm if he comes in a big-time spot. It's what to watch for here tonight. You know, sometimes we get very specific about our what to watch for. That's what I'm looking for. How do the Brewers utilize their very, very talented left-hander Brian Hudson in this game? And potentially tonight, maybe tomorrow as well. Now let's dive into our pitching matchup. Couple of young right-handers, Randy Vasquez against Carlos Rodriguez.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview. Presented by Chimney Sweeps, Inc., San Diego's trusted chimney and fireplace service company for 40 years. Call Chimney Sweeps, Inc. at 1-800-CHIMNEY or book an inspection online at chimneysweepsinc.com.
Right-hander Carlos Rodriguez on the mound for Milwaukee, 22-year-old rookie, ranked as the Brewers' 6th best prospect according to MLB.com. He's made 2 major league starts so far, 6.48 ERA in 8+ innings. His last start against the Angels, 4 innings and 2/3, 5 runs given up on 6 hits. His major league debut against the Blue Jays, he went 3 2/3 innings, 2 earned runs given up on 7 hits. So the first couple of starts for Rodriguez in the major leagues, he has not been particularly good. His numbers were not great at AAA Nashville to start the year, a 5.17 ERA in 60+ innings. Last year, a 2.88 ERA in 26 minor league starts. So that's why he's a top 10 prospect in the Brewers system. The arsenal for Rodriguez, 4-seam fastball, slider, cutter, changeup, sinker, and a curveball. It's a true 6-pitch mix. He's thrown no pitch less than 13% of the time. So he is a guy that likes to mix up all those 6 pitches. Meanwhile, on the mound for the Padres, right-hander Randy Vasquez, the 25-year-old so far this year, 1-4, a 5.70 ERA, 9 starts, 42 2/3 innings, 63 hits, 10 home runs given up, 28 Ks, 9 walks. Last start against the Phillies, a tough one, 4 innings and a third, 6 earned runs, 12 hits. He also gave up 2 home runs. 4 starts before that last one in Philly, he had been pretty solid, a 3.97 ERA in 22+ innings. His splits on the year, and this is really important to note, Righties batting .275 against Vasquez. Lefties batting .465 against him. So anytime Vasquez goes up against a left-handed batter, you got to take note of it. Again, lefties are hitting .465 against Randy Vasquez. The arsenal for Vasquez, much like Rodriguez, he's somebody who likes to mix up a number of different pitches. Four-seam fastball, curveball, changeup, sinker, cutter, and a sweeper. And that's a look at our starting pitching matchup today. Randy Vasquez for San Diego and Carlos Rodriguez on the mound for Milwaukee. A couple of young right-handers going at it on this Saturday night. You've been listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal, your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Let's set the table one more time for you as we get ready for this one. Padres enter with a record of 40-40. Padres have bounced back after a 5-game losing skid with now 3 consecutive wins, 1 against the Phillies and 2 against the Brewers. The walk-off win on Thursday night, courtesy of Jay Cronenworth, and then Jay Cronenworth, a 5-for-5 night yesterday, helping propel the Padres to a 9-5 win. Padres are looking to win 4 in a row for the second time this season. Meanwhile, the Brewers come in 44-32 on the season. Brewers still sitting in first place in the National League Central. They had been playing good baseball coming into this series. They had won 4 consecutive series entering this one. We'll see if the Brewers can pick up a win here tonight. Padres hoping they don't. Padres hoping to win a 4th consecutive game, and we'll see what the offense does here tonight. A big night yesterday for Manny Machado and Jay Cronenworth, a combined 9 hits in that one. We'll see what those two are up to here today. When we come back, Jesse Agler, Bob Scanlon have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our post-game show. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network.